The distress signal. The twin suns of the Keras system cast long shadows across the mining colony's metallic structures. Administrator Velrin stood on the observation platform of Mining Station Alpha, watching his people go about their daily work. The Zenthari were a peaceful species, tall and slender with silver skin that shimmered in the sunlight. For 3 generations they had called this planet home. Keras 7 was rich in rare minerals that powered faster-than-light engines across the galaxy. The Zenthari had built a thriving community here. Families lived in comfortable domes. Children played in the artificial gardens. Workers extracted precious resources with careful precision, always mindful of the planet's delicate ecosystem. Velrin took pride in what his people had accomplished. They had turned a barren rock into a place of life and prosperity. The colony had schools, hospitals, cultural centers, and parks. Over 2 million Zenthari called Keras 7 their home. The first warning came at midday. Administrator Velrin called his communications officer, a young Zenthari named Kes. "We are detecting unusual energy signatures at the edge of the system." Velrin turned from the window. "What kind of signatures?" "Multiple vessels. Large ones. They are moving toward our position at high speed." A cold sensation crept through Velrin's chest. "Have they responded to our hailing frequencies?" Kes shook her head, her large golden eyes filled with worry. "No response, Administrator. They are ignoring all communication attempts." Velrin moved quickly to the central command console. The display showed 17 red markers approaching the planet. His experienced eyes recognized the vessel configurations immediately. His breath caught in his throat. "Vraxian warships," he whispered. The Vraxian Dominion was known throughout the galaxy as a brutal empire. They conquered resource-rich worlds and enslaved or eliminated the native populations. They respected no treaties and honored no agreements. They took what they wanted through force and violence. "Sound the colony-wide alert," Velrin ordered, his voice steady despite the fear churning inside him. "All civilians to emergency shelters immediately. Activate defense protocols." The alarm echoed across the colony. Zenthari families stopped what they were doing and began moving toward the underground bunkers. Parents gathered their children. Workers abandoned their posts. The carefully organized society shifted into emergency mode within minutes. The Zenthari had a small defense force, 12 patrol ships designed primarily for deterring pirates and smugglers. Against a Vraxian battle fleet, they would be like insects fighting against giants. Defense Commander Thrain appeared on Velrin's communication screen. His silver face was set with grim determination. "Administrator, my ships are ready to intercept. But we both know the truth." "I know," Velrin replied quietly. "Buy us time, Commander. Give the civilians time to reach the shelters." "Understood. It has been an honor serving with you, Velrin." The screen went dark. Velrin watched through the observation window as the 12 Zenthari patrol ships rose from their landing bays and accelerated toward the approaching enemy. They looked so small against the vastness of space. The Vraxian fleet did not slow down. They did not attempt communication. They simply opened fire. The first Zenthari ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Then the second. Then the third. Commander Thrain's forces fought bravely, their weapons striking at the massive Vraxian cruisers, but the difference in power was overwhelming. Within 10 minutes, all 12 patrol ships were destroyed. The Vraxian fleet moved into orbit around Keras 7. "Administrator," Kes said, her voice trembling. "They are preparing to bombard the surface." Velrin felt the weight of 2 million lives pressing down on him. He was responsible for these people. Their children, their elderly, their hopes and dreams. All of it rested in his hands. "Open a channel to the Vraxian commander," he said. A face appeared on the screen. It was reptilian with green scales and cold yellow eyes. The Vraxian war armor decorated with symbols of rank and conquest. "I am Warchief Draxus of the Vraxian Dominion," the alien said. "Your planet now belongs to us. Your people will serve or die. Surrender immediately and some may be permitted to live as workers." "We are a peaceful colony," Velrin replied, keeping his voice calm. "We have no military capabilities. There are families here, children. We pose no threat to you." Draxus made a sound like grinding stones. Might have been laughter. "Your threat level is irrelevant. Your resources are what we require. You have 1 standard hour to evacuate your mining facilities. After that, we begin landing our forces. Any resistance will be met with immediate extermination." The screen went black. Velrin stood in silence for a moment. Then he turned to his communications officer. "Kes, send out a distress signal on all emergency frequencies." Contact the Galactic Union, contact the nearby systems, contact anyone who might help us. Yes, Administrator. Velrun began recording his message. He explained the situation clearly and calmly. He spoke of the 2 million civilians trapped on the planet. He described the Vraxian fleet in orbit. He begged for assistance from anyone who could hear his words. The message went out across the stars, traveling through subspace communications networks, reaching hundreds of worlds. The responses began arriving within the hour. The Pelian Confederacy expressed deep sympathy but explained their fleets were committed elsewhere. The Morphean Collective offered prayers but no ships. The Taldari Empire suggested negotiating a surrender to minimize casualties. The Galactic Union itself sent a formal statement of concern and promised to dispatch observers to document what happened. No one was coming to help. Velrun watched the Vraxian drop ships descend toward the surface. They landed near the mining facilities and thousands of Vraxian soldiers poured out. They were heavily armed and moved with brutal efficiency. In the shelters below the colony, families huddled together. Parents held their children close. The elderly whispered prayers to ancient Zenthari gods. Everyone knew what was coming. Then Kess called out with surprise in her voice. Administrator, we have received a response. The signal is coming from the far side of the galaxy. From a region near the Orion Arm. Who is it? Velrun asked. They identify themselves as the Terran Defense Coalition. From planet Earth. Velrun searched his memory. He had heard of Earth and its inhabitants, the humans. They were a relatively new species in galactic affairs, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 2 centuries ago. Most established civilizations considered them primitive and aggressive. Some called them dangerous. Put them through, Velrun said. A human face appeared on the screen. It was a female with dark skin and short black hair streaked with gray. She wore a military uniform of deep blue with insignia that Velrun did not recognize. Her brown eyes were sharp and focused. Administrator Velrun, she said. I am Commander Sarah Chin of the Terran Defense Coalition 3rd Fleet. We received your distress call. Commander Chin, Velrun replied. I am grateful for any response, but I must be honest with you. The situation here is hopeless. The Vraxian Dominion has deployed a massive battle fleet. Our defenses have been destroyed. Unless you can bring hundreds of warships, there is nothing that can be done. Commander Chin leaned forward slightly. How many Vraxian vessels are in orbit? 17 capital ships with support craft. Perhaps 180 vessels in total. And how long can your people hold out in those shelters? A few days at most. The Vraxians are already landing ground forces. They will begin searching for the bunkers soon. Commander Chin was quiet for a moment, studying something off-screen. Then she looked back at Velrun with an expression he could not quite read. Administrator, the 3rd Fleet is currently 3 systems away. We can reach your position in approximately 4 hours. Velrun felt a flicker of hope, quickly followed by despair. Commander, I appreciate your willingness to help, but 4 hours may be too late. And even if you arrive in time, how many ships can you bring against such a force? 35 vessels, Commander Chin replied simply. 35 against 180. The mathematics were cruel and clear. Commander Chin, Velrun said gently, I cannot ask you to sacrifice your people in a battle you cannot win. The Vraxians are one of the most powerful military forces in this sector. Your courage honors us, but... Administrator Velrun, Commander Chin interrupted, her voice firm but not unkind. With respect, you do not fully understand what humans are capable of. We have been watching the Vraxian Dominion for some time. We know their tactics, their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities. They are strong, but they are not invincible. But the numbers? Numbers matter, but they are not everything. What matters is training, technology, tactics, and determination. We have all of those. Velrun wanted to believe her. He wanted to hope. But he had lived long enough to know that hope could be a dangerous thing. Why would you do this? He asked. We have never met your people. We have no alliance, no treaty. Why would you risk your lives for strangers? Commander Chen's expression softened slightly. Because it is the right thing to do. Because innocent people are in danger. Because we believe that those who have the power to help have the responsibility to help. And because humanity has learned, through our own painful history, what happens when good people stand by and do nothing while evil acts with impunity. She paused, then continued. 200 years ago, Administrator, humanity was still confined to one planet. We fought terrible wars among ourselves. We nearly destroyed our own world. But we learned from our mistakes. We learned that our differences make us stronger, not weaker. We learned that protecting the innocent is worth any price. And we learned that sometimes, someone needs to stand up and say, no more. Valrin felt something stirring in his chest. It was a feeling he had almost forgotten. It was hope. What do you need from us, Commander? Keep your people safe in those shelters. Do not engage the Vraxians unless absolutely necessary. Conserve your resources and wait. We will come for you. And if you cannot reach us in time? Commander Chen's eyes hardened with determination. We will reach you in time. The Third Fleet has never failed a rescue mission, and we do not intend to start now. The transmission ended. Valrin stood alone in the command center, looking out at his colony. Vraxian soldiers were moving through the streets now, claiming buildings and resources. In the distance he could see smoke rising from the industrial sector. Kess approached him quietly. Administrator, do you truly believe they will come? Valrin thought about Commander Chen's words, her confidence, her conviction. He thought about a species that had nearly destroyed itself and chosen instead to become protectors. Yes, he said finally. I believe they will come. And I believe they will fight for us as if we were their own people. But can they win? Valrin looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, 35 human warships were racing through space at maximum speed. Their crews were preparing weapons and armor. They were saying prayers or writing final messages to loved ones just in case. They were doing all of this for people they had never met. I do not know if they can win, Valrin admitted. But I know they will try with everything they have. And sometimes, Kess, that makes all the difference. In the shelters below, word spread among the Zenthari people. Help was coming. The humans were coming. Parents whispered the news to their children. The elderly nodded with understanding. Something in the universe still cared about justice. Above the planet, War Chief Draxus stood on the bridge of his flagship, unaware that everything was about to change. He watched his soldiers claim another Zenthari city with satisfaction. This would be an easy conquest like so many before it. He had no idea that the humans were coming. He had no idea what humanity was truly capable of when fighting for something that mattered. In 4 hours, the Battle of Karas 7 would begin, and the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The Battle of Karas 7. The human fleet moved through space like a pack of predators hunting in the darkness. 35 warships burned their engines at maximum thrust, racing toward the Karas system. Every second counted. Every moment brought them closer to the people who were waiting for salvation. Commander Sarah Chin stood on the bridge of her flagship, the TDS Indomitable. Around her, the command crew worked with focused intensity. Tactical displays showed the approaching battle space. Intelligence reports detailed Vraxian positions and capabilities. Everything was being analyzed, calculated, and prepared. Chin was 53 years old. She had served in the Terran Defense Coalition for 32 years. She had fought in 14 major engagements and countless smaller skirmishes. She had seen friends die. She had given orders that sent good people to their deaths. She carried those memories like scars on her soul. But she had never turned away from a fight that mattered. Status report, she commanded. Her executive officer, Lieutenant Commander James Park, looked up from his console. All ships reporting ready status. Weapons systems charged. Marines are prepped for ground deployment. Medical bays are standing by for casualties. We will reach Karas 7 in 17 minutes. What is the current situation on the surface? Vraxian ground forces have occupied the main colony areas. They are searching for the civilian shelters. So far, the Zenthari have managed to keep their locations hidden, but intelligence estimates they have maybe 6 hours before the enemy finds them. 6 hours. Chin made a quick calculation. The space battle would need to be decisive and fast. Every minute spent fighting in orbit was a minute the Zenthari civilians remained in danger. Communications, open a fleet-wide channel, Chin ordered. Channel open, Commander. Chin took a breath and began speaking. Her voice was clear and steady, reaching every ship in the fleet simultaneously. All hands, this is Commander Chin. In a few minutes, we will engage a Vraxian battle fleet that outnumbers us more than 5 to 1. They have superior numbers and their ships are heavily armed. By conventional military thinking, we should not attempt this fight. By conventional military thinking, we should withdraw and wait for reinforcements. She paused, letting her words sink in. But we are not conventional. We are the Terran Defense Coalition. We are the defenders of those who cannot defend themselves. We are the shield that stands between the innocent and those who would harm them. 2 million civilians are counting on us. They do not care about our numbers or our odds. They care only that someone somewhere was willing to stand up and fight for them. Chin looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. They were young and old, male and female from every continent on Earth. They came from different backgrounds and cultures, but they all shared one thing. They believed in protecting the innocent. The Vraxians think they can take whatever they want. They think their strength gives them the right to conquer and destroy. Today we are going to teach them that they are wrong. Today we show them what happens when they threaten people under our protection. Today we remind the galaxy why humanity earned its place among the stars. She straightened her shoulders. All ships will follow attack pattern Delta 7. Carrier groups will deploy fighters immediately upon arrival. Heavy cruisers will target their capital ships. Frigates will provide screening and point defense. Marines will deploy to the surface as soon as we establish orbital superiority. We hit them hard, we hit them fast, and we do not stop until every single Vraxian ship is destroyed or running for their lives. Chen's voice grew harder, more intense. I know what I am asking of you. I know the risks. But I also know what we are fighting for. Those people down there did everything right. They built a peaceful society. They contributed to the galactic community. They harmed no one. And when evil came for them, everyone else turned away. Everyone except us. She looked directly into the camera that was broadcasting her image to every screen in the fleet. Let us show the galaxy what humanity stands for. Let us show them that we keep our promises. And let us show the Vraxians that they picked the wrong planet to attack. All ships, prepare for battle. Chin out. The channel closed. Around her, the bridge crew worked with renewed determination. Chin returned to her command chair and strapped herself in. The tactical display showed they were 2 minutes from emergence. Commander, said Lieutenant Park quietly, you know the projections. Even with our advantages, we are likely to lose at least a third of our fleet. Maybe more. I know, Chin replied simply. And you still think this is the right call? Chin looked at him. Park was a good officer, one of the best she had ever served with. He deserved an honest answer. James, I joined the military because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to protect people who could not protect themselves. If we turn away from this fight because the odds are bad, then what is the point of everything we have built? What message does that send to the galaxy? That humanity only helps when it is convenient? That we only stand up for justice when it is safe? She shook her head. No. We are better than that. We have to be better than that. Because if we are not, then we are no different from the Vraxians themselves. Park nodded slowly. Understood, Commander. For what it is worth, I agree with you. And I am proud to serve under your command. The feeling is mutual, James. Now let us go save some lives. The Indomitable and her sister ships reached the edge of the Kara system. Space around them began to shimmer and distort as they prepared to drop out of faster-than-light travel. The moment of transition was always disorienting, a sensation of being stretched and compressed simultaneously. Then they were through. The Kara system materialized around them. The twin suns blazed in the distance. The planet hung in space like a blue and green jewel. And surrounding it like a swarm of metal insects was the Vraxian fleet. Warchief Draxus was reviewing reports from his ground commanders when the alarms began blaring. His tactical officer called out with surprise in his voice. Warchief, we have multiple vessels emerging from faster-than-light travel. Unknown configuration. They are not Galactic Union designs. Draxus moved to the tactical display. He saw 35 red markers appearing at the edge of the system. They were moving directly toward his fleet at high speed. Identify them, he ordered. Checking databases now. Configuration matches. Warchief, they are human vessels. Terran Defense Coalition markings. Draxus felt a moment of confusion. Humans? The primitive species from the edge of the galaxy? What were they doing here? How many ships? 35 confirmed. Comprised of carriers, cruisers, and frigates. Draxus laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. 35 ships against his fleet of 180. The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Probably both. Open a communication channel. Let us hear what these primitives have to say before we destroy them. The main screen flickered to life. A human female appeared, wearing a military uniform. She looked calm and composed, as if she were discussing the weather rather than facing certain death. Vraxian forces, she said. This is Commander Sarah Chin of the Terran Defense Coalition 3rd Fleet. You are in violation of Galactic Union protocols regarding attacks on civilian populations. Withdraw from this system immediately or we will be forced to remove you. Draxus could not believe what he was hearing. This human was giving him orders? Him, a war chief who had conquered 40 worlds? Commander Chin, he replied, his voice dripping with contempt. You are either very brave or very stupid. My fleet outnumbers yours by more than 5 to 1. Our weapons are superior. Our armor is thicker. Our warriors are experienced in hundreds of battles. If you engage us, your ships will be destroyed within minutes. That remains to be seen, Shin replied calmly. You have 60 seconds to begin your withdrawal. After that, we will interpret your presence as hostile intent and respond accordingly. Draxus leaned closer to the screen. Let me explain something to you, human. We are the Vraxian Dominion. We take what we want. We conquer whom we choose. And we do not retreat from inferior species who think they can intimidate us with words. Then you have chosen poorly, Shin said. Her expression did not change, but something in her eyes grew colder. All ships weapons free. Target their command vessels first. Show them what humanity can do. The transmission ended. Draxus stared at the blank screen for a moment. Then he began laughing again. These humans have no idea what they are facing. All ships, battle formation. Destroy them quickly so we can return to the harvest. The Vraxian fleet began moving into attack positions. Their capital ships formed a wall of armor and weapons. Their support vessels spread out to provide screening. It was a formation they had used successfully countless times before. The human fleet did not slow down. They accelerated directly toward the Vraxian line. On the Indomitable, Commander Chen watched the tactical display with focused intensity. She had studied Vraxian battle tactics extensively. They favored overwhelming firepower and direct confrontation. They relied on their superior numbers to crush opposition through sheer force. That was exactly what she was counting on. All carriers launch fighters immediately. Heavy cruisers prepare to fire on my mark. Frigates begin evasive maneuvers and prepare point defense systems. Around the human capital ships, launch bays opened. Hundreds of small craft poured out into space. Human fighters were small and fast, piloted by living beings rather than controlled by computers. Each one carried enough firepower to threaten a much larger vessel if it found a weak spot. The Vraxians watched the fighters launch with surprise. Using living pilots was considered wasteful and primitive by most galactic civilizations. Drones were safer and more efficient. But the humans seemed to prefer risking their own people. What the Vraxians did not understand was that human pilots could think, adapt, and improvise in ways that no computer could match. They could make decisions in microseconds based on intuition and experience. They could take risks that seemed insane but sometimes paid off spectacularly. Fighters away, reported Lieutenant Park. All wings reporting ready status. Heavy cruisers target the Vraxian command ship. Coordinate firing solutions. On my mark. The human fleet reached optimal firing range. The Vraxian ships were preparing to fire their own weapons. For a moment, both fleets hung in space, poised on the edge of violence. Fire, Shin commanded. The Indomitable and her sister cruisers unleashed everything they had. Railguns fired projectiles at incredible velocities. Missile pods launched swarms of guided weapons. Energy weapons carved through the darkness. The combined firepower of 12 heavy cruisers struck the Vraxian command ship simultaneously. The Vraxian vessel was large and heavily armored. It was designed to withstand tremendous punishment. But no ship could survive that much concentrated fire. Its shields collapsed in seconds. Its armor was pierced in multiple locations. Secondary explosions rippled through its hull as internal systems were destroyed. Warchief Draxus felt his ship shudder beneath him. Alarms were screaming throughout the bridge. His tactical officer was calling out damage reports in a panicked voice. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Engineering reports massive damage. Life support failing in multiple sections. Shields are down to 18%. Draxus stared at the display in disbelief. One attack. The humans had crippled his flagship with one coordinated attack. How was that possible? All ships return fire. Destroy those human cruisers immediately. The Vraxian fleet opened fire. The space between the two fleets became a storm of weapons fire. Energy beams and missiles filled the void. The human ships began taking damage. One frigate exploded as its reactor was hit. A cruiser lost its forward section to a direct strike. But the humans did not retreat. They pushed forward into the Vraxian formation, their fighters swarming around the larger enemy vessels like angry insects. The pilots targeted weapon emplacements, engine clusters and sensor arrays. They were small and fast, difficult to hit, and they worked together with perfect coordination. Commander Chen watched the battle unfold. They were taking casualties, but the plan was working. The Vraxians had expected a conventional engagement, fleet against fleet, trading fire until one side broke. Instead, the humans were fighting like wolves, striking hard at vulnerable points and moving before the enemy could respond effectively. Carrier Group 2 deploy marine landing craft. Begin surface operations. Carrier Group 1 maintain fighter coverage of the orbital space. All cruisers target their capital ships. Keep the pressure on them. The battle raged for 2 hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed or damaged. The space around Keras 7 was filled with debris and the burning hulks of vessels. But slowly, steadily, the tide began to turn. The humans had better training. Their crews worked together seamlessly. Their tactics were unpredictable and aggressive. Most importantly, they fought with a determination that the Vraxians had not expected. These humans were not fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting to protect people they had never met. That made all the difference. Warchief Draxus watched his fleet fall apart around him. He had lost 47 ships. The humans had lost 9. The mathematics had been reversed. His advantage in numbers was disappearing. War Chief, his tactical officer said urgently. Their fighters are targeting our troop transports. If we lose them, our ground forces will be stranded on the planet. Draxus felt cold fear creeping through his body. This was not supposed to happen. The humans were supposed to be primitive and weak. They were not supposed to fight like this. All ships begin withdrawal. We must preserve our remaining forces. But War Chief, our soldiers on the ground, they are expendable. The fleet is not. Begin withdrawal immediately. The Vraxian ships began turning away from the battle. They accelerated toward the edge of the system, leaving their ground forces behind. It was a tactical retreat, but it felt like a rout. Commander Chin watched them go. She felt a grim satisfaction. The Vraxians were running. The orbital space belonged to humanity now. Do not pursue, she ordered. Let them go. Our priority is the civilians on the surface. All marine landing craft, begin deployment immediately. Secure the colony and protect the shelters. Medical teams stand by to assist the wounded. The human drop ships descended toward Keras 7 like falling stars. They carried 2,000 Marines, combat veterans who had trained for exactly this kind of operation. Their mission was clear. Find the civilians, eliminate the remaining Vraxian ground forces, and secure the area. In the underground shelter, Administrator Velrin felt the vibrations through the floor. Something was happening above. He heard distant sounds of weapons fire and explosions. Then his communication system activated. A human voice spoke in clear Galactic Standard language. Zenthari civilians, this is Captain Rodriguez of the Terran Defense Coalition Marine Corps. We have secured orbital space and are landing ground forces to assist you. Please remain in your shelters until we have eliminated the remaining hostile forces. Help has arrived. You are safe now. Velrin felt tears running down his silver face. Around him, the Zenthari people began crying with relief and joy. Parents hugged their children. The elderly whispered prayers of gratitude. After 3 days of terror, it was finally over. On the surface, the human Marines moved through the colony with practiced efficiency. They found the Vraxian soldiers attempting to break into shelter entrances and engaged them without hesitation. The fighting was fierce but brief. The Vraxians had been trained for conquest, not desperate last stands. Many chose to surrender rather than die for a war chief who had abandoned them. Captain Maria Rodriguez led her squad to the largest shelter entrance. Her armor sensors indicated over 500,000 civilians inside. She placed her hand on the door and activated her external speakers. Zenthari people, we are here to help you. We are opening the shelter doors now. Please do not be afraid. The massive doors began sliding open slowly. Light flooded into the darkness below. And standing at the entrance, looking up with wonder and gratitude, was Administrator Velrin and 2 million of his people. Velrin walked forward slowly. He saw the human Marines in their gray armor, their weapons held ready but pointed away. He saw Captain Rodriguez remove her helmet, revealing a young woman with tan skin and dark eyes filled with compassion. Administrator Velrin? She asked gently. Yes. I am Velrin. Sir, I am Captain Rodriguez. Commander Chin sends her regards and asks if you and your people require any immediate medical assistance. Velrin tried to speak but found he could not. The emotion was too strong. This human, this stranger from a species he barely knew, had risked her life to save his people. 35 human ships had faced 180 Vraxian vessels. They had fought against impossible odds. And they had won. Why? He finally managed to ask. Why did you do this for us? Captain Rodriguez smiled. Because it was the right thing to do, sir. Because you needed help and we could provide it. And because humanity believes that protecting the innocent is never the wrong choice, no matter the cost. She extended her hand in the human gesture of friendship. Velrun reached out and took it. His silver fingers clasped around her brown ones. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for believing we were worth saving." "Sir," Rodriguez replied softly, "you were always worth saving. Every single one of you." Above them, Commander Chin stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the rescue operations on her screens. They had lost 9 ships and 432 crew members. It was a heavy price. Each death would weigh on her conscience for the rest of her life. But 2 million people were alive because of what her fleet had done today. 2 million Zenthari who would see another sunrise, who would hold their families again, who would continue building their civilization in peace. It was worth it. It was always worth it. Lieutenant Park approached her quietly. "Commander, we are receiving messages from across the galaxy. Word of what happened here is spreading. The Galactic Union wants a full report. Multiple species are requesting meetings." Chin nodded. "I expect there will be many questions. Not everyone will approve of what we did. And how will you answer them?" Chen looked out at the planet below, where her Marines were helping Zenthari families emerge from their shelters into the sunlight. "I will tell them the truth. That humanity stands with the innocent. That we will fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. And that anyone who threatens peaceful people under our protection will face the full might of the Terran Defense Coalition." She turned to face her crew. "What we did here today will be remembered. Not just by the Zenthari but by the entire galaxy. We showed them who we are and what we believe in. We showed them that humanity keeps its promises." On the planet's surface, Zenthari children were emerging from the shelters for the first time in 3 days. They saw human Marines standing guard, protecting them. They saw the human ships in orbit, keeping watch. They saw a species that had traveled across the stars just to save them. One small Zenthari child, no more than 5 years old, approached Captain Rodriguez shyly. The child held out a small flower that had somehow survived the attack, a delicate purple bloom that grew in the colony's gardens. Rodriguez knelt down to the child's level. The little Zenthari spoke in a whisper in broken Galactic standard. "Thank you for saving us. Thank you for being brave." Rodriguez accepted the flower with gentle hands. She felt tears in her eyes as she looked at this innocent child who had endured so much fear. "You are very welcome, little one. You are safe now. No one will hurt you anymore." The child smiled and ran back to her parents. Rodriguez stood and looked around at the scene of salvation unfolding around her. This was why she had joined the Marines. This was why she wore the uniform. Not for glory or adventure but for moments like this. In orbit, Commander Chin received a communication from Zenthari government leadership. Administrator Velrun appeared on her screen, his golden eyes shining with emotion. "Commander Chin, on behalf of all the Zenthari people, I wish to express our eternal gratitude. You saved our entire civilization today. We can never repay this debt." Chin shook her head. "There is no debt, Administrator. We did what any decent being should do. We helped those in need. Still, we would like to offer something. A formal alliance between our peoples. The Zenthari have much to offer. Our technology, our resources, our friendship. All of it is yours if you will have us." Chin considered this. An alliance with the Zenthari would give humanity new trade partners and allies. It would strengthen their position in the galaxy. But more than that, it would be a partnership built on mutual respect and shared values. The kind of relationship that could last for generations. "Administrator, the Terran Defense Coalition would be honored to stand beside the Zenthari people. Together we can build a better future." Velrun smiled, a genuinely joyful expression. "Then let this be the beginning of a friendship that will endure across the ages." The transmission ended. Chin sat back in her command chair and allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. They had won. Not just the battle but something more important. They had shown the galaxy that humanity was more than just another aggressive species. They were protectors. They were allies worth having. The Battle of Karis, 7 would be recorded in the history files of 100 species. It would be studied in military academies and debated in diplomatic councils. It would become the turning point when humanity's reputation changed from uncertain newcomers to respected defenders. But for Commander Sarah Chen and her crew, it would always be something simpler. It would be the day they kept their promise. The day they proved that doing the right thing, even when it is difficult, even when the odds seem impossible, is always worthwhile. Because in the end, that is what makes humanity special. Not our weapons or our ships or our tactics, but our refusal to abandon those who need help. Our determination to stand up for justice even when others turn away. Our belief that every life has value and deserves protection. The Vraxians had learned this lesson the hard way. And the galaxy would never forget it.